Hey, what's up everyone, Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be breaking down Matt Boling and Joseph Fahnbulleh, and we'll start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the Performance Lab. Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become. All right, so we're going to do this video really in preparation for the NCAA championships that are coming up this weekend. And, you know, the two favorites in the 200 are going to be Matthew Boling, Joseph Fahnbulleh. These are both two of the top sprinters in the world. We got Fahnbulleh here, and we have Matthew Boling here. And so what we're going to see is really, we'll start with the start, right? And this is where, and I know I talked about Joseph Fahnbulleh's start in the past, but, you know, this is another opportunity to be able to take a look at this. And so, you know, this is where I feel like he can make the biggest improvements going to be his start. And, you know, one of the mistakes that he's making here is, and we talk a lot about this, is that first step needs to get down into the ground, right? It's about being able to really get that foot down and make it so we're getting more horizontal force. So what happens if you're trying to get distance is you're trying to create too much vertical force. You're trying to get too upwards too fast. It's not about getting a lot of vertical force here. It's about being able to pick up as much distance forward as possible, but we don't want to do that by pressing off our back leg. We want to be doing that by how we're striking down into the ground. Okay, and so he does a good job with his foot strike. The issue is he's putting too much focus on how he's pushing off the ground, so he's getting way too vertical. If we look, even just compare, basically, Joseph Fahnbulleh, I know he's taller than a lot of these guys, but look at the difference between a lot of these guys' starts, right? They're a lot more horizontal overall. This guy's also pretty vertical as well, but look at how vertical he is this quickly. Okay, and again, you can see like Matthew Boling is doing a really good job of staying much more horizontal. So he's able to pick up distance on, you know, his opponent, where, and you can see Joseph Fahnbulleh gets caught really quick. So this ends up being a bigger gap. Okay, and so the guy, you know, has a ton of potential, but just makes a lot of mistakes with his technique, which is really impacting him, right? So now he gets in this position where he's just way behind coming around the curve. Right, so and really also isn't maximizing his opportunity to be able to build speed. Okay, the point of being able to have a great start, right, to have a great drive phase, is to make it so you're going to be able to build your speed effectively. Okay, so if you're able to utilize momentum and utilize gravity and utilize, you know, physics, right, to be able to help you in being able to get to your top speed, it's going to make it so it's a lot easier to be able to do that, okay? And what's important about sprinting is we want to be able to utilize the most amount of effort at the right times. So if we have to utilize a lot of effort to get ourselves going, right, or to get started, or to be able to get ourselves into top speed, then when we get to top speed, we don't have the same fuel tank to be able to get us through for this race, the last 100, right? But, or if we look at the 100 meter, maybe the last 60, right? If we look at the 400 meter, you know, probably that last 100 or that last 200. Okay, so the point is we have to be efficient in what it is that we're doing and understand what that looks like. Okay, and what that looks like is being horizontal as we're starting off, especially during the 200. We want to be patient, right? I would even say in the 100 also. We want to be patient in our start and in our drive. Not that we want to be, you know, allow ourselves to get caught, but we don't also want to try to get to our top speed within 10 meters, right? Or our top speed mechanics within 10 meters. And I see that mistake a lot, right? Where people are just like rushing to get themselves into their mechanics that look similar to their top speed, when really they should be more in a drive phase or a horizontal force production time period within the run, instead of so much vertical force being created, right? And Joseph Fahnbulleh is a very, very natural sprinter, right? So he has a ton of potential if he could just get that horizontal action going, right? And then we look to see, right, where really both of these guys are elite, right? I mean, I think Matthew Boling's got a lot better with his start, but he's always been elite with his ability to, you know, get to his top speed, right? And Joseph Fahnbulleh has had a history of being able to really, you know, catch guys from behind. And we can see both of them, you know, coming around the bend here. There's not a ton of a lead, right? Like both of them, it's all pretty close. Okay, at least in comparison to here till when we see the end. You can see they really both start to separate. So these are undoubtedly the two favorites going into this weekend, right? The question is who's going to win. To me, my pick is going to be Fahnbulleh. And the reason is because I think what ends up happening here is, you know, Fahnbulleh is able to make some adjustments within the start, right? May keep it a little bit closer there going into it, and I think he'll end up going and being able to, get the victory. I think that, this ends up being a big race. I think Matthew Boling really wanted to win this and was peaking more for this race. And I think Fahnbulleh will end up really going more for the NCAAs and wanting to win that. And that will be, his best race of the year will be the NCAA. So that's why I'm predicting that. It's hard to tell. To me, it's going to be these two, 1 and 2. But I do think that after losing this race, Fahnbulleh is going to have a part of him that's going to really want to be able to redeem himself. And we saw, a similar situation last year with Matthew Boling, and I think that he'll end up, having to learn a little bit from this and be able to get better. Because, when he gets to the top speed, so he had a good position going around the curve, right? And then what happens is he really... and you can see his mechanics here are pretty solid, right? I like the smoothness. He looks really like he's able to perform at a high level, right? He's a very elite level sprinter, right? But what happens is he gets kind of to the end and he kind of feels Fahnbulleh come in and he starts to kind of flail his wrist a little bit, right? So we can see here as he's coming through, he's not maintaining a great action in the hands. Like this turnover that he does with his arms is not great. You can see with that left arm. See what he's doing? Like he's like internally rotating with his arm. And then he gets extension from there. And he does that a little bit when he's at his top speed, but it's definitely not as noticeable as when he's getting kind of towards the end and starts getting tired, right? He starts to almost have like this, and he does it on the right side, not as much, right? But he really starts to rely on like this internal rotation of the arm, which is not an effective way to be able to maintain good position with the foot landing underneath the hip, right? So if he ends up getting into that, right, if he ends up kind of feeling that stress from Fahnbulleh and allows himself to create a ton of internal rotation really early on, okay, I think that's going to end up negatively impacting him, right? Because you can see here, see how he's going through more straight extension in the arm? Okay, that's better. Okay, but when you start to get tired, if you start to lose some of your technique and some of your form, that's not going to help you out. You can see how, look at both of their extensions here. They both look very, very similar. The issue or the difference is Fahnbulleh is significantly taller, right? Has significantly longer legs, so he is a lot more upright. He's a lot more controlled, where Matthew Boling is really leaning forward here, right? This isn't a great finish. This is not a really stable position to be in. Fahnbulleh could easily hold this for a long time. Matthew Boling could not maintain that position for a long time. Now, granted, this is the end, right? But again, that ends up being, to me, something that shows that there's some areas that Matthew Boling can continue to work on to improve. And I think Joseph Fahnbulleh, just with a little bit more experience and things like that, I think he's going to be more set up to be able to win the race. So again, that's my opinion. I still think that it's going to be based off of what happens in the start. Okay, so if Fahnbulleh goes and loses a lot in the start, then it's not going to end up being a good race for him, right? But if he can maintain a pretty close position with Matthew Boling, around the curve, whatever, and I'm sure he walked away from this saying, dang, I probably could have went harder on the curve to be able to keep everything closer so then he can come through with a greater finish. Because I know he feels like he has more left in the tank. I don't know if Matthew Boling feels like he has more left in the tank or what his overall, looking back on how he can prove. I don't know exactly what those kind of conversations were, but that's what makes me say that, is that I think that he, when you look back on Fahnbulleh, there's a lot of things that he can improve on, right? And then I think for Matthew Boling, because he won, he probably won't look back and see as many things from a technical perspective that he needs to be able to work on. But to me, that last 20 meters, again, he looked very, very not good. Right? Not good with his mechanics and what he's doing with the arms. And so if he doesn't really correct that and doesn't really work on those last 20, 30 meters, I think Fahnbulleh catches him and is able to win the NCAAs. So that's my prediction for the 200 meters. There's obviously going to be differences for all the different races, but that's what I'm thinking. So, and I know that's kind of the most highly anticipated race, at least in my opinion, for the men's division. All right, so as always, guys, if you like the information, go ahead and click that thumbs up down below. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, you can leave those down below. We have a ton of different videos that we have and a ton of different programs that we have that will help you in improving your speed. I'm big on being able to improve the start. I always say to people, like, if we can give you the most opportunity to improve the fastest, it's going to be through the start, right? It's going to be in being able to get you faster with your feet down into the ground, get you faster in being able to create the right type of force production, right, or maintain the right type of force production, be able to get yourself in the right angles within the hips, within the ankles, within the spine, right? And those three things end up being critical. What is your ankle angle? What is your hip angle? What is your spine angle as you're going through the start? And how can we maximize that to be able to really create the most amount of, again, force production while spending the least amount of time on the ground? Those are the two main things that end up really impacting the start is how much force production are we able to generate, right? And how fast are we able to generate a large amount of force, okay? And while simultaneously doing that, being able to limit the amount of time that we're spending on the ground. So, our programs go into that. We have a faster 40, we have a speed program that goes more into the 100 meter. I do a ton of breakdowns, give you a ton of feedback. We do Zooms, everything to be able to help you out and being able to make it so you can take your speed and get to the next level. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Again, like, subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.